Hi everybody and welcome back to another video weekly dose of Skyrim mods, a somewhat established series on this channel where we scour the Nexus and sometimes and unfrequently less moderated sites for interesting and relatively newly released mods. As the modding scene keeps delivering high quality modifications for us to endlessly improve our game, it does sometimes feel like there's always something revolutionary coming out every few weeks that completely changes a specific area that it aims to modify, and a lot of the time to the point at which a lot of us fall into a well-known trap telling ourselves, I should probably play Skyrim again. Additionally, I do want to briefly apologize for the lack of uploads for the previous month, and even though I have repeated this on multiple of social media platforms to the point where my own brethren made fun of me, I feel like most of you are probably unaware that I was unfortunate enough to fall prey to this damn virus that completely hindered my capability to do pretty much anything for a good week or two. And as somebody who's been dealing with a relatively serious autoimmune disorder, dealing with it was quite a challenge. But alas, the worst has passed, and my hopes are that we will be back stronger than ever, and I will be putting my full focus on some projects that I want to deliver to you guys as I progressively get better over time. However, let's put our focus to why we're here in the first place, and check out my picks for this week's episode, as most of them I found to be a complete game changer in what they aim to modify, and do so in a quite creative manner, worth noting and showcasing. Over the past few years, the modding scene has introduced plethora of city overhauls, more specifically Whiterun overhauls, and I myself in the past have showcased a patch mod that combines multiple Whiterun overhauls into one, creating one of the largest city areas I've personally witnessed. However, today's mod carries a theme and is implemented in an amazing and unique way. The project is still a work in progress and it's in the alpha stage, and was apparently inspired by a Viking themed video from a young and not so wise Heavy Burns, where the author got his inspiration to start this project. The mod in question is Viking Whiterun Overhaul. As the name would suggest, this work-in-progress project overhauls Whiterun with Viking-themed architecture, completely overhauls the city in a way that is not only thematic, but also very unique and aesthetic. The building meshes and textures included are completely unique and in theme with what it aims to present, providing Whiterun with a very cool and rustic appearance present in Viking-inspired settlements. The full layout of the city has been changed, with added rocky and muddy terrain suitable for a smaller settlement, and additionally provided with plethora of small details that further cements that Viking theme. The exterior entrance is welcoming you with an ominous area where Whiterun's enemies have received their gruesome demise, with flock of birds flying above as an additional detail to further provide that creepy feel. Additionally, the exterior farming areas have also been changed, where the new cool and rustic looking windmill has been added, as well as a couple of other layout changes. The interior cell of Whiterun City has obviously received the biggest overhaul, where the layout itself has received quite a significant change, while at the same time keeping the districts themselves separated, as is the case in the original game. My favorite part of this overhaul are the building meshes themselves, as they are very unique and thematic, and quite impressive in their design. I won't go too much into detail covering this mod since, as mentioned earlier, the project is still in alpha stage, therefore not recommended for regular gameplay. However, as a big fan of Viking themed settlements, I felt the author deserved a small spotlight for his creation. Looking forward in seeing how the project evolves over time. Moving on to the mod that took the Nexus by storm with its release, and even though I'm a little bit late to the party, the mod itself came out as quite a surprise from the author of some amazing city and settlement overhauls, and that will be the mod Bears of the North. This mod is a visual overhaul of all bear models in Skyrim, and it's done by giving these ferocious beasts a bigger and more menacing fit for the harsh northern lands that they roam in. Each type of bear, whether it's brown, snow or a cave bear, will have their own distinct features, and they are made to be a lot bigger in size and in general look more modern. The technique used for this visual overhaul was done with shell texturing, a current gen technique to provide more believable fur visual appearance, and it's used in modern games such as Red Dead Redemption 2 and so on. The author of this mod was consistent enough to additionally overhaul hunting trophies found around all interiors of Skyrim and updated it to match the newly created models. If you haven't included any loading screen mods, the author lastly changed the bear model used during the original loading screen. As mentioned earlier, this visual overhaul features new models and textures for each type of the bear that it changes. The author went the extra mile to change each of these types in a way that it makes sense, and provided them with visual features that would prove useful in locations that they reside in. For example, brown bears, as the most imposing ones, are made to be extremely tall and muscular under the very thick fur. They generally have more broader heads, thick arms and shorter snouts as their distinctive features. Cave bears on the other hand are significantly smaller than brown bears, but through evolutionary process, living in the dark made their bodies reflect that. They have large eyes and ears to efficiently track down their prey, as well as be aware of their surroundings in deep and dark caves that they roam in. And lastly, snow bears have smaller but longer heads than their counterparts and have extra thick fur with added protection to fight off the cold and ruthless frostbite from the Sea of Ghosts. Overall, huge fan of this visual overhaul, and looking at its implementation and having a brief chat with the author himself, I can't help to comment that bears could potentially look out of place due to its high quality visual elements compared to the rest of the creatures found in Skyrim. It's time to delve underground and check out a series of mods released by one author in an effort to visually overhaul all of the Dwemer locations, technology, weapons, and armor. All of the mods included have the same theme and approach in their visual overhaul and complement each other amazingly well. We'll start off with my favorite out of the four, and that will be Dwemer Pipework Reworked. As the name of the mod will suggest, this overhaul changes Dwemer pipes as well as Dwemer boilers in a way that is not only believable, but also 10 times better looking. As the Dwemer pipes are supposedly used as a ventilation and heating system, it's only logical for this to be visually represented. The fake exhaust holes that were paint slapped on the mesh are now real, and the reworked meshes now have proper transparency and have been made to be double-sided. Further, and my favorite, the author has added animated fans inside with increased glossiness, while at the same time changing boilers to look like they're actually working, and visually presents it with glowing effect. This is additionally complemented with an ENB, as this glow will light up surrounding areas, adding to the realism and immersion. The author has included few versions for you to try out, and my favorite one will be the texture with the decorative pattern, further adding to its visual presentation. For those that find these out of place, there is also rusty textures included, as well as some additional files for increased consistency. Next, we have Dwemer Automatons and Tech Glowmapped. These two visual overhauls simply add a Glowmapped patterns to all Dwemer technology and automatons, making them appear much cooler, and additionally represents their activity as these glow maps slowly fade out upon being destroyed. It's quite a simple yet a very noticeable change, and as is the case with Dwemer Pipework Reworked, this mod as well gets additionally complemented by an ENB. This small visual change is compatible with all texture mods that you have installed and have no strain on your load orders, as they are only textures and meshes, while the secondary option offered within the downloads is an ESL flagged file. And finally, to leave no Dwemer craftsmanship untouched by this amazing visual overhaul, the mod author has given the same glow map treatment to weapons and armor as well, with Dwemer armors and weapons glow mapped. As is the case with the tech and automatons, all weapons and armor created by the mysterious Dwemer have received a glow map treatment for complete consistency. I won't go too much into detail showcasing these mods, as I personally feel that these have received a proper and well-deserving spotlight from a young and inconsistent Sergeant Gim, with probably one of the most uniquely crafted presentations absolutely deserving your time, and I will suggest hopping onto his channel and his video in the background, as it is really a good watch. Moving on to the interior overhauls from the author that has been making appearances in the last two videos of Weekly Dose of Skyrim mods, and that will be JK's interiors, more specifically Winterhold interiors, as the author went through all of the prominent interiors of the City of Stone and giving them the same treatment that he usually does. The interiors in questions are JK's White Phial, Sadri's Used Wares, and New Gnisis Cornerclub. As is the case with all of the JK's overhauls, all of these interiors have received additional clutter and minor changes for increased opulent feel, making places overhauled more alive and less empty. White Phial has received additional potions, ingredients on the counter of the shop itself, while adding hanging ingredients and filling up all of the shelves behind the counter. The shop just looks more like a shop with all of these additions, and the author has further placed a minor gardening sector behind the counter area for different types of mushrooms, nirnroots, and other alchemical ingredients. Sadri's Used Ware shop has received the same treatment as well, but of course counters, shelves, and walls have been filled with miscellaneous items, weapons, armor, and other clutter that makes sense to appear for sale in a shop such as this one. The shop was provided with extra lighting with assets from the Dark Elves, representing cultural influence from Solstheim. On the right side of the shop there is a storage room with plethora of miscellaneous items chaotically stacked on top of each other, which greatly complements the shopkeeper's personality. And lastly, we have New Gnisis Cornerclub, and this Tavern of the Grey Quarter has received the same treatments as the previous two, with same assets used in Sadri's used ware shop to fill up the place with properly placed and culturally appropriate lighting. Full interior has been overhauled, meaning that the author has filled the place with clutter that makes sense in all three levels of the Cornerclub. As is the case with all interior changes, the tavern feels more alive with added clutter, however, done in a way that keeps the original feel of poverty-stricken area of the Grey Quarter. Next up, we'll move on to the NPC overhaul that caught my eye a few weeks ago, and that I have immediately added to my load order when I saw the author of it, and that will be the Nourthbourne's NPCs of Haafingar. NPC overhauls by this mod author are without a doubt one of the most high quality, high poly replacers or redesigns, and in the past he has touched up on NPCs in Falkreath, Rift and Winterhold, so I was personally ecstatic to have Haafingar NPCs added to this list. This mod changes 104 named male and female NPCs in aforementioned hold, except for children and beast races, and covers NPCs from City of Solitude, Blue Palace, Castle Dower, Dragon Bridge, Solitude Stable and Sawmill, and Catla's Farm. The mod was designed with the version of the high poly head that was made to work with expressive facial animations mod, so they are hard requirement to make this mod work properly. As is the case with all of his previous creations, the quality of these NPCs are undeniable, and my favorite part is that it covers male NPCs as well, since it's quite popular within the community to beautify female NPCs only. This mod keeps that consistency at the highest level, and each NPC has their own unique features that properly represents their personality. Additionally, NPCs are made to be better looking in quality, but not necessarily better looking, as it's quite appropriate for some of the NPCs from the list to have less attractive facial features. Overall, it all comes down to a personal preference, as there are a plethora of NPC overhauls offered by the community, but I am personally a huge fan of Sal Pau's work and have all of his overhauls installed on my load order. Speaking of being a huge fan of a particular author's work, the next NPC overhaul comes in the reimagined form from none other than Frosty himself, and the mod in question is College of Winterhold Reimagined. From the author of one of the most aesthetic Serana visual overhauls comes this NPC change, which self-explanatory touches up on all inhabitants of Winterhold College. The author's approach of creating these NPCs are fantasy-inspired aesthetic and has given them a full redesign from scratch. Generally speaking, all of the visual overhauls from the Reimagined series needs no praise, as their high quality is undeniable, however could potentially look way too perfect for someone that prefers more rugged appearances. The requirements for this mod are high poly heads and KS hairdos to make sure all of the NPCs look exactly as showcased in the background. And finally, as always, our episode closing mod would be something from the Armory, and this week we'll take a quick glance at the underrated mod, Legendary Alpha Shields. Simply put, this mod adds 30 new incredibly high quality looking shields to the game, craftable via steel smithing perk. All of the shields included in this mod have a unique appearance, with high number of polygons for that increased mesh quality and design. The shields vary in their engravings, symbols included, and overall design, and additionally keep the rugged look with dents and scratches that would be found on shields that have seen the heart of battle. Unfortunately, the mod author does not provide too much information on the mod page about the shields themselves, however, the texture quality is absolutely amazing, leading me to believe that they are either in 2K or 4K resolutions. The installation of this mod is pretty simple, it's plug and play, and all of the shields included can be crafted at the smithing forge as long as you have steel smithing perk. That's it for this weekly dose of Skyrim mods, and as always, please make sure to show your support towards these authors by endorsing their work on Nexus, and consider subscribing to this channel for future mod coverage. If you want to support me directly, you can always do that by pledging on my Patreon, or by simply following me on Twitter, or by joining my Discord server where a growing modding community reside in. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.